Hello, everyone. Let's get started. So, where we left off yesterday, or last night, this morning, whatever you want to look at it, I had built this script here that would save the animations to an image, right? Well, I know for a fact that... Hey! Below the stone. How's it going, man? I know for a fact that I'm gonna have to create a lot of these, right? I know I'm gonna have to create one for the hero, I'm gonna have to create one for all the monsters or enemies, and potentially I'm gonna have to create them for different weapons that they might hold. I need a lot of these, right? So I've set it up now where this script, when it's reached the end of the animations, we'll go through and say, okay, this down version's done. Let's go to the up version, and the left version, and the right version. And it saves them all. And when it's saving them now, it saves the name of the game object. So up, down, left, or right, right? The animation name, which I was able to accomplish by looking at the animator on each of the objects, comparing it to the list of known values, because apparently the Unity doesn't have the method to say get the name, but you can compare if it's the one that's running, but whatever. Anyway, and then gives you sets an anim name, right? And every time the anim name changes, we're going to set the file counter back to 0 and just keep track of the previous one, right? To know if it's changing or not. So what's this do for us? If I hit, let's bring this up first. For proof, so we've got nothing in this folder, and refresh it. I'm gonna hit play, and then once it loads, we start getting all sorts of images that are named male character down, idle, and the frame number. So we've got each different animation getting generated for us for the down states, and it's going so fast, like it's probably already done, right? That's on left, okay. There's the ups. There's all the different pieces of the ups. And we've hit the last piece, which is the shadow, and it airs off, and that's fine. I don't care. Got the lefts. Hurt, dying, going to the right. $1,563 images in what, a minute? No offense, below the dev or below the stone, but could you make that many that fast? And this is one character. Yes, yes. So I think my frame rate that I'm capturing these at is probably extreme, right? So I might need to tweak that number, right? So right now I've got this rate set to 1/60, right? So 1/60th of a or 60 times a minute or second, it's going to do this. So we can lower that, right? That rate. Maybe we do 10, 20, whatever. I kind of need to get a good feel for it though, because like this one's different than that one. I can see that, you know, his sword's not there, his sword's there, and then it's way out. So I'm not sure what the right frame rate is. Maybe what we've got's too low. I mean, his animations are very smooth. The idles, it's such a faint movement. I can't pick it up in these at all. Well, if I made about one character in 1 minute, you'd still roughly 1,000 times faster than me. Yeah, I know. And that's extreme, right? How would you make something that fast? Even just drawing it. See all those animations? I can see every time I scroll, there's a difference on each frame. It's slight, but that's what you want, right? For a smooth animation. Oh. There at the end, I did see the difference. He's growing and shrinking in height, so each one is different. No, you don't suck at it. You're making a completely different type of art. Pixel art takes a long time, I think. These are all pre-animated too and pre-drawn. I didn't draw them. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to stop scrolling through this. So part of the reason I did this is I now have all the pieces I need to make the animations, and it's cut up for me, right? Yesterday I was talking about, well, maybe I could write them to an external file and capture the number. That was a silly idea. I've got that right in a file name now, so I know anything with down idle is the down idle animation. And that's through there. And right here is the start of him swinging. So he's reaching back to grab his sword. He has it, and it magically appears in his hand. We're going to ignore that. And then he starts swinging, right? So, and this is something I didn't get about this animation, but I would think I would leave it because it's dramatic. The swing effect is there before he has started that swing all the way. It's a severe exaggeration of that swoosh effect, right, in front of him. It looks like it's the same here. So he hasn't really started pushing it forward too bad yet, but it's starting to appear in the swish effect for that one. Question is, do we go off of the frame? Let's open this up in Photoshop, see if that tip's cut off at all. Boy, it might be. Ever so slightly, though. I don't know if I'm going to worry about that. He like breaks his arms to do a magical spell and everything. I wish they had the arrow in there. Something tells you it'll happen too fast to see. Right, right. A lot of these do happen too fast when you aren't stepping through it frame by frame. Never seen a... I guess I've never seen anybody die, but he jumps up when he's dying. Yeah, so the frame numbers are resetting properly. I'm just trying to make sure there's no bugs in what I've done. If there's not, we'll start using this. That's why the character's in the air when he dies. It's sort of a dramatic way of animating in cartoons. Okay. I didn't go to art school or anything like that, so I don't know those concepts. That is a brutal attack, like it's just out. And again, the animation starts before he really starts to swing, or the swish effect starts before he starts to swing. Like stretching face when a character jumps, sometimes they squish a little or bounce. I had heard where in game, like when I was trying to do the pixel art myself for a different project I was working on, that, you know, make it look bigger than it should be kind of thing, the movement. Because you're not going to notice it as much when it flashes on in front of you real quick. I think we're going to leave it like that, even if it cuts off a little bit at the end. We'll have to try it in game where there's not a white background to see how much it feels like it's cut off. Okay, so the rights or the lefts we really don't need. We just need a side one. We don't need both. So we do a -1 on the scale, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's try pulling these in. Let's do one animation, right? PNG hacks. Delete all these. I don't know what that's about. It must be me testing last night. It was, right. Because I created a scene for it, I think, didn't I? Yep. And then PNG hacks. Let's grab, I don't know, that right-facing sword. Swing attack. Or no, the right-facing... Do these quicker. No. Idle swing. Now if I go back to extra large over there. There we go. That's fine. Let's get the spear one then. So thrust 0. Through thrust 35. Okay, and then we have this game object, right? With this game object controller. And the animations. We need a new clip. And we'll call this new clip side thrust. Okay, and we're gonna pull in all of these. Yep. Let's do 128 pixels per frame, or pixels per unit. Let's do points, so there's no compression. Automatic Mitchell. Alpha, 32-bit. They're all single sprites. Oh, then that might be cut off. Yep. Dang it. The tip's cut off. Come on, go in the right spot. Right, so let's play it at speed then. It's on the screen long enough that you can see it. If we zoom out a bit. Now, if there was something there, like he was hitting it, that would look correct, right? Because it would need to stop there. I mean, the fix for it's relatively easy, right? So I just come back to my other scene I created these with and say on the camera, don't use the size of 2, use the size of like 2.25. Makes the picture a little, the area it's going to take a picture of a little bigger, basically. So let me delete all these. A hard drive. And from playing around with this earlier this morning, this is the right thing to do. I just don't know if that's the right size for it. Because Earlier I was Gonna get your stopwatch out this time. Let's get rid of the PNG hacks we just created, just so we can know to clean them up. Okay. Let's hit play. What, 4:23 by my clock. There's our 1500 images. And it just about a minute, right? It should be spamming error messages, right? Yeah, it is. We're done. I tried doing application.exit, but apparently that doesn't, or application.quit, but apparently that doesn't work in edit mode. It only works when you build the game out, which I don't want to do for that. So now we go PNG hacks and this folder again. We say right side thrust. There was 35 before, now there's 34. That's going to be a problem. Like, as I rerun this, I'm going to get a different number of frames every time because of the slight timing differences. I don't know what to do about it though. Okay, so let's drag all those into here. .28 center point, RGBA, 32-bit. Not that animator, the animation. Go to the anim test, game object, PNG hacks. Play. Yep, we're getting the full tip of the spear now, or the swoosh of the spear. I'm gonna end up liking this method better because I can do all of the different directions in one object. Because of the way that they set these up in the originals, you had 4 different objects and would enable or disable the object based on the direction that the character was traveling. And because of that, they had 4 different animation controllers. I think I can do it with 1 animation controller. And then just look at the velocity along 2 planes. Or not 2 planes, 2 axes, the X and the Y, to determine which particular animation to play. Right? So if he's walking to the side, his X-axis is going to be increasing if he's going to the right. So the X is greater than X velocity is greater than 0, play the side animation. Boom, done. Same thing for going up. Play the up animation when that happens. What'll be a pain is transitioning from... No, I can transition from those individual states to like attack with the same trigger, probably. Because you'd already be facing in a given direction, and we could just say transition from where you're at to, from the idle animation in that direction or the walk animation in that direction. Maybe. That or he's gonna play like 4 animations all at once. Or I keep track of his direction of travel and then trigger the correct animation for that direction. That works too. That gives me a lot more flexibility, because then in the attack I could also say have different animation events for each of the different directions if needed. Nice. I'm calling this hacks, but I think this needs to be the actual thing now. I don't know what else I really need to try out. I'm probably going to set up some folders for these animations, I think. Not here, but in the game. I'll put the right into one, the up into other, the down into another, and be done. And all of the individual animation types as subfolders so I can keep it organized. So let's do this. Sprite frames. The only other thing I could do is, do I want to grab that program that somebody was talking about? Dang it, what was it they were talking about yesterday? Sprite Packer, I think it was. Oh, dang it. Can't find the packer. Create sprites with the GUI or command line tools. The GitHub page. Qt and Qt Creator, I don't know how to do all that. Oh, hang on a sec. Okay, guys, I'm back. Mike, mic check. Yeah, cool. Somebody here in Discord with me? Nope, just me. Cool. My daughter was having problems with Minecraft. Come on. There needs to be a shortcut key for creating a folder. It's hard to do in Unity. Up, down. We'll call it side. Doritos. Pass some of those up there. Okay, so we're in the down folder for the hero. So I need one for idle. That's just slower. Let's spell it backwards. 0 through what? $111, dang. Say, wish there was a way you could default all these in for the whole project. Maybe there isn't, I just don't know it. It's annoying you have to do it at, like, it imports them and then does it again, right? Let's do create folder wing. One of the sad things about this is there's an animation that he's got for all these, right? But I had planned on like making a fire wand and an ice wand and this and that, and I was gonna have it in the animation, and that's kind of broke now. Unless I go and make another version of him, export them all to images with him holding that different version of the weapon. Ugh. Doable, but pain that it has to be done this way. Swing 35. Select them all. 128. Point. Apply. I think one weird one is going to be the spear, since it can only attack in 4 directions in a straight line. Weird in what way? Like, that you can't swing it, you mean? Oh, yeah. I can't remember. You know, other games, some of them are that way, right? They only have the 4 directions. I can't remember if Link to the Past was 8 directions or if it was only 4. So Hurts the next one. I do know the original controls for Link to the Past was on Super Nintendo, and it would have been a D-pad, but I just don't know if you held like right and down if he went diagonal. Can't remember. Even with the sword, it's going to work that way, right? So while the animation shows a swipe effect, I didn't set the collider up that way. That's going to check to see if something's there. You could remove an 8, I remember, but the sword swipe like 3 tiles in front of you. Oh, okay. That's basically what I was doing. I did a wide area so that you could go for it. And, the spear's in here, and we can use it, but we don't have to. Low and to the right, you could hit it. Okay. And that kind of makes sense, because he went like a real wide swipe with it. Like, it would have been here, here, and probably to the right of him that actually would have been hit if it was a real thing. So walk down. Just walk. Walk 0 through what? $57. And maybe we take the spear out. So what I had envisioned was using that animation, but changing his thrust weapon from the spear to that fire wand type thing. So if getting distracted, but that's fine. So let's go over here. Sprites. I want to look at it anyway. So open this up. So this is the original sprite sheet. So there's our spear, right? And here's the weapon thing in the background. But I'd found this over here in it, which looks a lot like a wizard's crystal ball. So change that ball out for like a red one or a blue ice one with maybe a different shape on it. And that's the, he'll kind of shove it forward like it's a spear, but it would be that instead of the spear that he's moving. Let's see. I also could just let him use the spell animation for it too. Just you wouldn't have a thing in your hand then, I guess. That might make more sense, and I don't have to do the assets. I don't know. Like you learn how to cast these spells. The frozen one, I'll have to figure out how to make all the enemies look frozen, I guess, right? Change their shader, their sprite render to a blue look. So that was thrust. Then we need spell. Then spell. The 8 point. G, there we go. Ooh. We already demonstrated that Unity is able to export to itself. And when it exports to itself, it automatically imports all the things. And I know I can separate these out now by what their animation is. And I know the direction. And I can set this object, for example, to say player hero instead. And maybe I could create this entire folder structure even, then I don't have to do all this monkeying around next time. Aha. Then I just need to be able to figure out how to take all those assets and throw them into their given animations. And create new animations, and I'm all set then. Oh, that's a big drawback of doing it this way. Dang. I don't really care though, I don't think. So, let me describe this. The way that they currently work, all male character down use the same animator and the animations for all these different types of animations, the hurt, the idle, etc. Regardless of what they're wearing, their hair color, the armor, the weapons, they all use the same animator. Because it's moving objects, not just flipping through sprites. The way I'm doing it, I'm going to have to create a new animation for each one of these. Yeehaw. Down bow. Wait, was I done with that one? Spell. Yeah, it looks like it was. If I can script creating the animation, that would be amazing. Let's do it. Yeah, let's do the rest of these for down. And stop there. And make sure that this solution, that the reason we're doing this is still valid and this works. Or this solves it, right? Because remember, we're doing this because of the Z fighting, basically, among the different things. Not Z fighting, but the Z order. Okay, so that should take care of them. So let's take down walk. We'll just create the animation right in the same folder, I think. I don't know, can we open that like that? Can. Let's make sure they're in this order. Can't edit it because it's not selected to an object. Can't add that, really. There we go. So now we can edit it. And play through it. Works for me. So now, can I create this into the prefab? Come on, over here. I have to. There we go. Player. Let's go ahead and save this scene just for the fun of it. go to the overworld. And we must have Pixel Snap turned on still. There we go. It's not gonna work there anywhere. It's the desert. We were needed to do it too, wasn't it? Haha. From town, from grassland. There we go. And then let's grab our prefab of the player. And then game object, move, line with view. Move to view. There we go. Do you think the video game market will crash like it did in the 1980s? It's kind of unimaginable now, but an interesting thing to talk about. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not. In the 80s, it was in its infancy, right? Like, it was just getting started. Oh, okay. Let me back up. Define a crash. If you mean as in have a reduction in revenue, total revenue in the industry, possibly, right? That could always happen, right? There could be a recession and people stop spending on entertainment. But I don't think it'll be like a major hit to the industry, right? Where people won't make money making games, right? It's just that they'll, instead of me buying 5 games a year, I'd buy 2 or 1, right? That kind of thing. I'm still going to buy games. I don't think that's ever going to go away if it's a recession. Now, if there's a depression, yeah, maybe. But that's going to impact everything and it won't matter. I think it's more external forces is what I'm saying than what the industry would have. Gaming is a culture at this point. Advanced rule tiles? Oh, you gotta be kidding me. The only reason I thought about it was because I looked at Steam new releases, and well, yeah, that explains it all. What's with the new releases? There isn't any, or you're saying they're crap? Okay, I'm gonna favorite that asset. Thank you, Andrew, for that. Water and everything else with 1 layer. Okay, yeah, let me just log into my Unity account and then on my other screen here. Well, they're really bare bones. The games themselves are bare bones? I haven't paid attention to what's on Steam last couple weeks, I guess. So, you have to remember Steam, a while back, basically opened the floodgates for any crapware. Because they're no longer... You don't have to be greenlit anymore, right? You can just pay a fee and get on. And in addition to that, there's... they're not, like, reviewing things anymore, right? You can do whatever on Steam and they don't care. With to some extent, right? Like, they'll... If you're racist, whatever, they'll probably get rid of it. Yeah. Falcon has another good point. I was also thinking that as well. If you look at... So I have a YouTube channel, and when I was on it, not that it made much, but what it did make was never at the beginning of the year. That's a little bit different because it's advertisers, right? Nobody wants to advertise at the end of the year because they've already spent all of their budget for the prior year. And how do I describe this? From an advertising standpoint, they spend a bunch at the end of the year trying to get those end of year sales to make that year look good on their financial results, right? They're pushing hard to make a good year. Then at the beginning of next year, their budget's kind of spent already. I seriously think gaming's too ingrained in our society anymore to disappear completely. No wonder they're cutting hours at work. Where do you work? What do you work for, I should say? What industry? Why am I not seeing a Sprite? I need to put one on here, huh? Oh, grocery store. Okay. Start somewhere. You better pick up your phone. We want to walk one, so we'll just put like the first frame of it in there, the sprite render for now. Do what? Why is it still not showing? Oh, Z is like ridiculous. Still not showing. Okay, he's big, but he's scale 3, so let's scale him down to 1. Now he's a midget. It's more like it. Please work. This was working in a different scene last night, I remember. Not preferences. Project settings. Right, that's not on 1 though, is it? That's a different... That's a collision, probably. Yep. Which is on that, so let's put that at 0. Interestingly enough, it's still showing. This is at 0. I just remember looking at Steam releases, scouting out the competition, I guess, and then I saw this one jungle exploring game that uses all free assets. It had 2 enemies, lions and the little kid from the Jungle Book with a spear. It was a Steam game about killing tribe children. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. They don't have any level of quality anymore, and I think that those games will suffer for it, right? They might get a few people buying them, but they're not going to have, you know, thousands of people buying them like other games on Steam do. Like if you look at Steam Spy or SteamDB or whatever, and you look at an indie game that somebody put some time and effort into, like Quillinox, that guy's got between 20,000 and 50,000 sales in like a couple weeks, right? And he's just a guy working by himself. His advertisement, as far as I know, was just every week he did a dev blog on YouTube. He had a big following out of it. You know, he probably had a couple thousand people following him. I don't know. Maybe he did more marketing on it. Maybe he sent it out to YouTubers and stuff. It's all based on Z or sort order. Order in layer. Let's set them all to 0 for now. I regret this later, but let's do it. I'm tempted to just have the ground in the tile map and put everything else as an object. Anything that should be in front of the player ever. And then we create a script, and I've been researching this offline. People have created scripts that basically take the Y position of that object and multiply it by some arbitrary number, say 100, to get some separation between things. And set that as the order in the layer. And boom, done, right? So that way they can, based on the Y value, change the order in layer. But you need to do that for all objects, right? And the ground's always going to be underneath the player. So we can set that to 0. That shouldn't be a problem. But anything that's going to be potentially in front of the player needs to be dynamic based on its Y position in the world. And then those problems go away. I don't know what that's going to do to performance, though, from the standpoint of how do I describe it? Having to recalculate that order all the time. Also, like, all of these tree objects would then not be in the tile map with their collider, so it's no composite collider going on. There's no batching of them going on. But for, like, what, a couple dozen of them, is that going to be an issue? I don't think so. What else needs to be able to go in front of the player? Let me go to my other world. And I could still use, I could use tile maps to paint them still, because we could spawn them as prefab game objects. Yeah, same thing I just said. Let's see. That way I can still tie it, right? Or paint it with the tools. Because placement's gonna be a pain if I don't. So what in here should the player be able to walk in front of and behind of? Because if it's something that he's only ever going to go behind it, like the back of this house, let's make it in a higher sort layer and then solve that problem. Or maybe not the layer, but maybe the... Or maybe not the order in the layer, but a different layer altogether, like always on top. Or foreground elements layer. This fences would be one of them. So all fences would have to be done like that. I guess this stuff would have to be like that. The wheat or whatever. So this fence too. Like that, that's... Do we care about that? Do we make those colliders for both of those and then not have to worry about it so you can't walk in anywhere? Maybe. I mean, that is a complete another option too, right? So like these trees here, you can't walk behind them. The collider you can't see because it's a green background goes all the way up to the point of it. So you just literally can't walk into anything that's on that picture of that tree. Same with these. So there's another option. Do we go back to the desert? Do we take these trees and just make them a too tall collider? Can't walk into it at all. You can always be in front of it then. Because you'll never be behind it. I'd do the same for that big one too. It doesn't feel the same from a gameplay perspective, I imagine then. Welcome to the Discord, Andrew, by the way.
first time I saw ya, you were not like the others. A cool kind of melody.
Hey, by the way, if I get enough people talking on Twitch, they sent me a message saying that I would be able to start giving VIP access out to people. I'm not sure what that means, but another level up on Twitch. I think like 4 or 5 people chatting at the same time or something. It's like this should be over the player, always. Exactly, more power. Oh, what I was saying was they sent me a message saying like I had either 3 and they need 4, or I had 4 and I need 5. If I get whatever that number is, that threshold number, talking at the same time, then it unlocks for me to give the ability for someone to be VIP in the channel. So it's just another like step in the progression game they've got built into Twitch. And then the VIP people get, I don't know, priority in the thing or an extra icon beside them. I forget what it was. Like right now, you've got the star beside you because you subscribed. Yes, it helps. Just need like 4 or 5 people, whatever that number was, doing it at the same time. Everyone say hi! And hello, Stuart. Your mom's watching the stream? Thank you, Falcon. Another set of eyeballs. I just need to make a decision one way or another which way to go. I know which way I kind of want to go, but both ways have work, and that's what's making me try to decide. When you get 3 emotes, do you get to use the subscriber 1, 2, and 3? Or because I would want to give 2 or 3 emote slots for 1, 2. Huh? When you get 3 emotes, do you get to use subscriber tier 1, 2, and 3? Right, I think it determines which slots you can put them for, and the 3 it gives you when you become affiliate is 1 for tier 1, 1 for tier 2, and 1 for tier 3, I believe. I didn't get to pick that. Or if it's different than that, I didn't understand it when I was setting it up. I'd rather have it so like you just subscribe to tier 1 and you get all 3 of them, because that's more reason to subscribe. I don't think that people would want to subscribe for a tier 3, which I think is like $25 a month or something silly. You get 3 pictures in a chat. Alright, for sort layers, couldn't you just change the player's layer instead of the other objects? I can, but that's going to put him in front of everything, right? So this, let's try it. Make sure I understand it right. You might be proving a hole in my knowledge, so let's make sure I understand it. So I'm going to set the sort layer for this. I'm going to add a new layer. Let's say player. Oh. Player. Just like that. And we're going to go back over here. And we're going to say he's going to be on player layer. And we need to align him to the view. And move him to the view. And reset his... See. Okay, I was wondering if it sets it up for you or if you can customize it a bit. Shame you can't customize it like that. Yeah, I wish you could, because I think that more people would subscribe then. Because the first level of subscription you can get with a Twitch Prime subscription, right? It's not. Oh. Why is the player not showing up then? Oh, I don't have a picture on him, that's why. Yeah, see, now he's on top. But I think he's on top of absolutely everything. Yeah, he's on top of everything. So his trees are going to be on a higher sort order number. In fact, if I put my one object in here that was like a black screen, it would be on top of that even. Okay, I was wondering if okay, wait, so I mean changing the player level via script depending on whether he's behind an object or in front. Right, but the problem with that is he can be in front of one while also being behind another. So imagine a situation where basically he's right where he's at right now. So he's in front of that tree in the background there, but behind this tree. You would need him to be in between them. So the foreground tree needs to be on a higher level than the player, and then the background tree. And that's what the script that looks at the Y position would accomplish. It's going to look at his Y position and set that to the order in layer based on his Y position. And the other piece of that is we can set an offset inside the order in layer setting so that I can get all 50 layers of the player in there and in the correct organization structure. So that his head is above his shoulders and his hair is above his head and his eyes are above his head and so on. That was the problem when we squished him down to one layer or one order in layer. He was a bald freak that had his knees coming out of his chest and stuff like that. I could do a hybrid approach too. If for some reason I wanted this single sprite setup better, I could still use that script to set his order and layer based on his Y value. Right, and then as he comes down, his Y value is getting closer to 0 in this case. So we would need to take the inverse of that. Or I would need to move my entire game objects down so it's in the negative plane or something like that. So that as you walk... Screen? No, that still wouldn't work. So if he's up here... Yeah, we would just need to get some arbitrary high value that we're never going to go above, like 1,000. Start at that and subtract off based on your Y value. That'd work. Or 20,000, whatever. Because you want a bigger number as you get down. So the max would be 20,000. Yeah, so 20,000 minus Y times, let's say 100. So we get some scale between each step, right? And that should give me enough range to cover all of the objects in my character, because I think there's about 50 layers there. That would also mean that if we take the absolute number, including the decimal point, times 100, if there's a enemy here and enemy here, and they're both on the same Y integer, so 96 and 96.5, let's say, we can sort them correctly. They would be in front or each other or not, and as you go past, they would flip positions. And the really cool thing is, like, his hair would go through last. as he's going through the trees and stuff. He's backing up because it's the highest layer. And that means then this could go back to default, and I'd almost prefer that because I don't understand exactly what it is that it does. Okay, let's create the script and just see how it works. So create new script, set z by, no wait, set order in layer by y. Okay, so we're going to say requires component. Type of sprite render. So we'll do a private sprite render sr. sr equals get component sprite render. Yep, and that's how you start, right? So you just play around with it, right? You expand your knowledge every time you go in and try and do something else. Start with a small game and go from there. I've had lots of small, not even completed games, and hopefully this becomes my first completed game. Ah, so you don't know what require components does? So if you put this script, set order in layer by y, on any game object, it will force that game object to have a sprite render on it. In fact, it'll add it for you if you don't have it. And the reason that you want that is when you do get component sprite render and it returns a null, if it's not there, it'll add it for you automatically, yes. And this basically ensures that you don't have to make sure that this isn't null in your code, because it's going to require that that component be there, and this will succeed because it will be there. I don't always do it, but I really should, and I'm trying to get in the habit of doing it more often. Because it's very, very handy to have. And like, it's really nice if you know if you make 2 or 3 scripts that depend upon each other, you can say it requires your other script that you've written. And then when you add, say, the AI, and that AI needs a rigid body, that's a normal Unity one, but also maybe it needs, I don't know, a reference to some game controller script that you've created, it's going to add it for you, that component. So sr dot order in sorting order. Right, I'm pretty sure it works with scripts, so let's just try it. It's easy death. If I just save this, it's not gonna do it for this one because we just compiled this one, right? Oh, and it's got an error. So let's get rid of that sort order, set order, blah blah blah. Oh, it's still compiling. Okay, it's gone. So now if we do sort set order in layer by y, it automatically adds the other script. I didn't add ZZ def. So sprite render dot set order in sorting order renders within a sorting layer. Okay, that's what we want. So we're going to set this to equal transform position y And gosh, we need to set some arbitrary value, but that value needs to be the same across all occurrences of this. So static integer, because assuming it's an integer. 50,000. Static constant or constant static? There we go. Max. Max sort order. What don't you like about what I did? Next sort order minus transform position times 100. Constant. Multiplier is 100. So transform dot position dot y times multiplier. We're going to take 50,000. Let's say he's at 100 times 100, so it'd be 1,000. Okay, so if he was at 10 times 100, probably be at 10,000, right? 10 times 100 would be 1,000. 100. Let's do 1 versus 2. So 200, 100. 50,000 minus 100 would be the 1. 50,000 minus 200. 1,800. 900. That's 2. It's setting this up backwards is what I'm trying to sort out. So if his y was 1, he's closer to the bottom of the screen. His y was 2, his y is up there. That's right. Got it right. Okay, and it wants an integer in the end. Also, is going to ask, I found that you can make a new scene in the hierarchy by right-clicking in the current scene and clicking Add New Scene. But is there a way to make a scene that stay loaded when you load a new scene, so it can be persistent, like when you use Don't Destroy on Load? There was a way to do that. Don't Destroy on Load might be the option, but I couldn't find it when I was looking for it the other day, so I just coded it to make sure it's loaded. Right when I'm loading the new scene. Is it a property on the scene itself? No. Where did you see that at? Is it in the build settings? Can't be. No. You just run that code, don't you, somewhere? Gosh, you're gonna make me question life here. I don't get the answer to this. Unity, don't destroy on load. Object that don't destroy on load. Oh, that's specific to the object, right? Just discovered you can right-click in the scene and have two scenes open in it. Yeah, you can. So you can say open scene additive. So that will load this scene in addition to whatever's already there. It's just like what I did in code the other day. I think Don't Destroy on Load basically creates it as a separate scene in the hierarchy over here when you're in play mode, but it just contains whatever objects you set that on. So here's an example. Don't Destroy on Load. Don't Destroy on Load. Where is it? Yeah, so on Awake, it's setting Don't Destroy on Load. for that object. So that's going to keep it there. And I think that's what exactly it says on the bottom. I just found it was easy for this. Not that that's why I did it, but for this to set multiple objects in here, and they're always going to be around for what I need. And I do have the option of, if I need to go to a special scene that might be a cutscene or something, I can close this out altogether, right? Then. So from your code yesterday, does that don't destroy unload in the editor? You're asking if I'm using don't destroy unload. No, I'm not. If you're asking, does it show both of them in the editor? No. Well, it shows them in the editor when it's in play mode. Not in the editor when I'm in just regular mode, right? Not playing the game. But I can force them both to load. So if I went to overworld and then say right-clicked on this one, which is the one I want, said open scene additive, they're both there. Sorry if I'm not getting your question. Just say remove scene. So unload it then. Oh, the one to teleport stuff around? That one? Or load in TP? So this one where I was looking to see if the player hit that object and then, I do my animation stuff, but then unload the current scene. Oh, that! Gotcha. So that was... No. This one. So you just say you're using Unity Editor, so you need to put it in an editors folder, the script itself. Right, so that's where the script's location is. And the editor folder could be a subfolder anywhere, from what I understand. I just put it there. But it has to be called editor. And then this menu stuff sets up the menu. Anything with a slash in there is the hierarchy of the menu, right? So tools is the main menu, and this is the secondary menu option. And it just runs this method. And what I'm doing is setting the play mode start scene to either my main menu or the currently loaded scene in the editor. So it's just setting whether this overworld is currently running. So if I did this one, it would load this when I hit play. And it's going to give me an error message saying there's no camera, because there's not a camera. Or go click on this one. That sets the main menu as the one that plays. And it closes the overworld. And opens main menu instead. And then from main menu, I can go to overworld. So it's a convenience thing for me, because instead of having to go down, navigate to my scenes folder, open main menu, then hit play, I can stay in overworld, hit play, it opens the main menu in play mode, and then when I close out of play mode, no matter which scene I go to, it takes me back to whatever I was in. Makes life easy. And my understanding from lots of tutorials basically, right, from other people, is that that's a common practice to have a scene that you want to always load, and that scene then controls everything else from there. Like, every game has a menu, right? And from the menu, then you go into something. But Unity, by default, with one scene open, having a menu in there is kind of convoluted. Like, you have to create a special canvas and hide the whole background and pause your game and this, that, and the other. This simplifies all that. So this should just do what we need, right? This should just set the position. There shouldn't be anything else I have to do to this. What scene was I in? Where I had that other object. Was it the desert? Yeah, okay. So this is it. Get rid of ZZ death, because that's going to just probably cause us death and destruction. Remove. Okay. I could tell this to run in the editor, but I don't really want to. So we're in desert. We're going to have to get to the desert to see this work. So let's just quickly add a camera. Let's do it from the game. Main menu. Start. Cool, he's not there at all. Okay, he's right there. His order in layer is negative. Ah, I closed it. Dang it. Is this how you make a game for App Store? I really need to make a game and launch it in App Store, but don't know how to. Do you know how to program? Transform position should be 50. And we're multiplying that by 100. That should be 5,000. How is our order in layer becoming 21,000 negative? I would start with learning to program. At least the basics of programming. Not to discourage you, but it'll make your life easier if you do. You will be able to create a better game and also create it faster if you understand the basics of programming. If you can't understand at least an if statement, like a for loop or while loop, what variables are, it'll be hard. There's lots of great courses on or tutorials on YouTube to get you started. And to answer your question, you could use Unity to make something for an app store, depending on what the app store is, of course. I wonder if we're doing some numeric overflow, like this has a limit of to what it could be. So what is it, sort order? Sorting order. Canvas, render, so rendering. Right, and I've got it cast to an int. But I wonder if it's got a numerical limit. There it is. So we're going over the limit. It can't be any higher than 32,000. That's why I went negative. We overflowed the field. So maybe this number needs to be 30,000 then. Guaranteed to always be lower. I gotta come over here for it to compile, that's why it's not updating. I love the runtime replacement of the code in Unity. When I started programming, that wasn't a thing at all. Put them on default too. Well, his sort order in layer is changing. Becoming higher when he goes down and lower when he goes up. That's what we want. Not quite sure why he's not showing that. Oh. Eventually I remember that he needs a sprite in his sprite slot. Why can't I set that? Just do whatever. I have a suspicion as to what's going on. It'd be awful if it's the case. It's compiled. Hacking? Programming? Yeah, programming. I would agree with you on that, Andrew, but some people don't know how to program and can hack because they've downloaded programs that do it for them, right? But real hacking is programming. Yeah, script kiddies, exactly. Kevin Mitnick. I haven't started reading the book yet, but there you go. Ghost in the Wires. Got it for Christmas, just haven't started reading because I was like, ooh, something shiny. Unity. New idea. Why can't I set the sprite render? I thought maybe it was that when you change the sorting order, it changes what the sprite is in the sprite render, you know, resets it. There it is. I wonder if it does reset it then. Good grief. I'm gonna give you a horrible answer. Anything is possible. It doesn't mean it's easy though. It also doesn't mean that your account won't get permanently banned. I'm sure they're looking for people that are hacking all the time. Yeah. Well, Falcon, you're right. But also, you can go into Unity, make a game in Unity, and then just tell it, I want to export to iOS, and it will. Any ideas, Andrew? What's going on with my sprite? Why it's not getting set? Oh. Oh! Once you know a language, you'll make better apps with the tools available. Exactly. I don't know about you guys, but I think C# might make a comeback. In high school, Java was the language used for the AP Computer Science exam. What's with the sprite? So the sprite is set here. My sprite render, right? In the desert scene. I'm going to save this just in case it's that. When I go to play, I go to the main menu, of course. Hit start. I go up to my desert area, which will load that scene. And then the object that we just looked at, the player, has a missing sprite. Just want to know how to hack Fortnite. That game gets me so angry till day I haven't gotten one more. Yeah, but a game as big as Fortnite, though, there's people trying to find the hackers and ban them. To try and keep the game competitive. Need to learn to Google. Thank you, Andrew. May I make that life note down? Why is the sprite getting removed? I can't set it either. It's there. Mask interactions, right side. Oh, it's my animator, I bet. My animator, the first frame of the animation probably didn't have a sprite on it. Remove that animator for now. No, it's not a drink. Okay, so my order and layer is changing. Let's make at least for me, learning to program was all about learning to find what you need on the internet. I'll admit that's a big part of programming. It's a big part of IT in general. How good are you at Googling things? Because no matter who you are, there's always someone else that knows something you don't know and has had that problem. Well, likely had that problem before. Okay, so this is going to work. We can assume. Let's prove it. Let's set that layers to something that makes sense. I have a master's in Google queries. Yep, if not, it tends to point you in the right direction anyway. Exactly. And I gotta turn my stupid animator off. Drag in whatever. Turn you off. There we go. Okay, so there's a great big character. What's in his Y value is currently setting his order and layer to that. So let's find that tree behind him, which is this one, and set that layer to like what, 8? No, it'd be higher, so it'd be 8. Yeah, let's assume it's that, right? And we'll grab the player and move him up down. What's Unity? Do I really need to describe that to you? Oh, it's not going behind it. What? Default. Helps if I have my game set up right. So yeah, once he crosses a certain point, he can go in front of it. So this will work. Isn't that when racism is solved? Wow. I suppose the Unity game engine is going to do that, right? In 3 dimensions. That's the type of behavior we want. If he's behind it, it's going to be behind it. If he's in front of it, he's going to be in front of it. Sound like a genius saying that. Unity 3D. Check my messages. Okay, now it's your stalker. He's just after your art. Debating if I need 2 versions of this. I think I might. One version that runs dynamically for non-static items on the update method, and one that runs on start only. Get away from me. Oh no, the other. They're on to me. Oh. Hey, thank you for the follow, Stuart. Gotta keep my OBS on the screen. I could make one script that can do both, but that means the update method's gonna get called regardless. I don't know how much performance impact it's actually gonna have. That's the main reason, right? If update doesn't even get called, it doesn't have to go through it for the majority of the objects that would be using these things, which would be the static objects on the screen, because this script is going to need to be on the prefab that I spawn in. So like if I make this tree a prefab and paint it with a tile map brush, whatever, prefab brush, is that what it is? I don't know what it's called for this, but paint it with that. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you know, there's going to be more of those than there will of the player, and a half dozen mobs maybe, right? That'll be on the screen at one given time. So by keeping it in start, when the game starts up, they calculate their order one time and never have to calculate it again. Wow, I just talked myself into it. Where'd I put it? I need to come up with a better organization for my scripts. I always just try and put them all under scripts, which usually doesn't happen right away, and then I have to move them in there later. I'm leaning towards doing that, yes. Make them with game objects, paint them with the tile map system, right? The palettes and all that. Yeah, I understand. No worries. I'm glad you're here to lend insights into the ways you guys have done it, because it's helped me go through a lot of this quicker. So I need to create another version of this. For the tiles, I haven't set it yet. That's what I was saying. So for dynamic objects, I'm gonna use this. But for anything else, I'm going to take the I'm gonna do the same thing, right? Get its Y position, but set it in start instead of on update, because they're not gonna move, right? They're gonna be static. I'll probably need to, and that's something I need to do. I need to add another piece to this. I need to add another piece to this that takes into account what the starting sorting layer was, or sorting order was. Yeah, the official Unity tutorials are pretty good. Yeah, to get started and understand the basics, because there's a lot of concepts that are very specific to Unity. I guess I need to make a call on what I'm going to do for my player too. If I'm going to use the player that's this one static image, or one image with an animator on it, or that other monstrosity. I'm almost want the monstrosity, even though I went through the work of figuring out how to create 1,500 images in a minute. But that would mean then I need to list out all of the objects that are, I guess, active, or the children that are active, that have a sprite renderer component on them. So it'll be transform dot get children. There we go. I just need to get all those. But I would need like an array or something to hold all of those children's. What I'm thinking is, the sort order is there for each of the object already on my player. On layer here. Right, so this guy's got all these different child objects, and each one of them's gonna have a sprite renderer, right? And this one's set at 38, but the eyes are gonna be set at something higher, 39, or the color 40. And I need to take that as an offset from my calculated order and layer and add it to it, right? But how am I gonna store that unless I do it on start? Because after the first frame, I'm already going to be, you know, thousands of orders and layer higher. I think I have to do it in start, and if that's the case, that means I need one of these on each of these objects. If I want to do it in just start. Or I need a way of saying, like a hash lookup table, and finding what that specific child was if I want to do it on the parent object only. Private constant, or not constant, integer offset equals sr dot sorting order. That's my offset, and then I need to add the offset in at the end. Okay, so that'll do that. So if it's not dynamic, we're going to do that. And then in update, we're going to say if dynamic, and we'll optimize it later if we need to optimize it. I don't know that we do. So I think checking a binary bool should be incredibly fast. If it's dynamic, we'll do it in update. If it's not dynamic, we'll do it in start. Void update sorting layer. If you're writing the same line of code twice, you should make a method. The same chunk of code. That was weird. Where's my script? Okay. Have fun. Nope, that's not it. Where's my tools? Oh yeah, it's in a different folder altogether, that's why. Start at menu, okay, so we're gonna hijack the same one. We're going to create another menu option. Menu, item, tools, add set order in layer by Y. To all children with sprite renderers. Wonder how long Unity allows those to be. The menu options. Private. Static. Set order in layer by Y children. Add component. Set order in layer by Y to children. There we go. Is it too long? What? Unity editor. Selected. Selection. Access the selection in the editor. Let's Google it. Unity editor. Add component to game object. It's not a good Unity editor. This game. Let's go with this. Need to get into the section of the help for the Unity editor. There we go. Unity editor. So it's a separate class? It is. Selection. Access to the selection in the editor. Set active object with context. Object and context, okay. Actual unfiltered selection from the scene. So you can set specific game objects. Let's just do this. Selection dot game object dot name dot transform. What was it name? Case sensitive. So it is that object. So let's do this. We're gonna set game object geo equals to that, and if geo is not equal to null, we're going to go geo dot get children when it's in children, right? No, we want to get children. Has yep dot transform dot child or go dot transform get child count, say int I equals 0, and then I is less than that, I plus plus. So now we're gonna get the child at position I. Dot there's nothing to query to ask if it has a specific component, so I'll just have to try. And it's going to be set order in layer Y. Set order in layer. Soil. Set order in layer. Yeah, so if soil null, so we don't have it. No soil component. So add it. So we go in geo.transform get child I add we can't add a component? Why not? That's a transform, that's why. So we're going to go to the game object on that. Add component of type set. There we go. Okay, did I just make my life easy or did I make it awful? We'll find out. Well, we got an extra bracket somewhere. tabs are all off. No. That better, Unity? There we go. Okay, so we know that head is 1. Let's clear the inspector debug window. Didn't get it, but that could be because it did edit here. Aw, really? This doesn't add it to the undo layer, really? That sucks. There's no sprite render on this, I forgot to check for that. Yeah. Remove that, then remove that. Sprite render. We'll just say SR if SR does not equal to null. Then we'll check if we've got it. So we don't want to add it to something that doesn't have a sprite render. And we need to be recursive with this, basically. I think it's only going to do this one. We'll find out. Component. What'd you do? You didn't add it there. And you didn't add it there. Which it should have added there, but it shouldn't have added it here. So that worked. So I wonder if get child count counts, or the get child accounts for non-active game objects. I guess I could activate them. Private, static, void, add to children, child, works. I'm going to add all this code in, and we're going to, instead of doing this, we're going to have game object go, and up here we're going to say add to child, go. And down here, we're going to child count. So this here, we're going to loop through all of these children's, the children's children, basically. Go through the full hierarchy, please. Debug.log checking us geo name us for a for children and components. Now we get a log of everything I just done. Ready, set, go. Young hero, male down, hip, body, chest, left shoulder, and so on. Oh, upper right leg. Is that gonna be the last one? Check the child. Rust. Awesome, it added it there. Take those off. That was probably from the first run. There we go. So now my prefab automatically updates to add in my sort order in layer by Y script when I just click that button for all child objects through the entire hierarchy of it. So now if we delete this, and then we need to look at all the objects in the world here, create them as game objects that we need to be able to walk behind or in front of. Create a tile palette brush. What's it even called? Prefab brush. Default brush. Game object brush, is that what it's called? Pick, paint, and erase game objects in the scene. Limited to the children of the currently selected game object. Not sure how that works, but we'll figure it out. So we need to get and create our prefabs for this. So let's just work on the little tree, right? So we know that's the tree. That tree comes from our desert palette, no, our extra object palette. And we know it's this specific cell, which comes from that tile. That tile comes from that sprite sheet. Okay. That's not what I wanted. I wanted you to jump to this so that I can find you. Okay. It's beside you. So it'd be this one and this one. I'm gonna make that up. So let's just create another. Let's go this. Dev folder. Scenes. Okay, there we go. We can... There's no back in this, is there? It's under extra objects, tile maps. It's this and this. Well, we need to create a new empty dead tree. I'm gonna call it M for medium, right? And that's gonna have a sprite renderer or 2 on it, right? So we're gonna need to create 2 empties underneath. Call this one top, this one bottom, and this is going to get a sprite render by just dragging this up onto there, and this one up onto there. Oh, how cool. They created them as child objects. Awesome. Delete. Okay, you are... stacked incorrectly. Reset. Reset. And there's that, and then this one. One. Wait a minute. 1 and 0 works like that. That puts our origin there. Why is it showing like that? Why is the transform there? Something feels off about it, but whatever. So then we can go and do this. Both of them get the other piece. Order and layer is going to be 0 for these. Oh, my script here needs to say that that might be private, but we need to make it a serializable field. And neither one of these is going to be dynamic. So that should be my dead tree prefab. Okay. Can I then take that up to my palette somehow? Create a new palette. Prefab palette. Grid size, automatic. Yeah, sure. Great. Drag a tile, sprite, or texture asset here. Okay, I didn't think that was gonna work from there. Or there. So how do you set them up then? Okay, if anybody watching knows this, please let me know. What am I doing wrong? How do I create that prefab into a tile piece in my palette? I might just need to go look up how to do it, but thought it was as easy as just dropping it in. Pick, paint, and erase game objects in the scene. Okay, so why don't we do this? I need a break anyway. I've been doing this for, what, 2 hours and 20 minutes? I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna look this up offline. I'm going to get some dinner probably. And then maybe I'll come back before the end of the evening and stream some more. But for now, let's see. Is anybody streaming or wanting to start streaming? Who I should raid? Hello, you guys aren't streaming, right? Oh, okay. Well, he raided me the other day and seemed to appreciate when we raided him back, so let's take a look at what he's streaming real quick here. He's doing some programming still, but not this game dev stuff. You guys want to go over to Deedle again? See what else we got out there too. See if there's anybody that's streaming game dev stuff. Action RPG live development. That sounds interesting. Let's see if we can just raid him. He's no longer broadcasting? For real? There we go. Oh, his name is... There we go. So I'm gonna go ahead and have this raid over to him. Tell him we said hi. Bye. Let's start in 10 seconds, it says. Night, everybody.